Make me beautiful, duet.
Before we get into today's video, I do want to let you guys know that this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the very infamous, the very beautiful, the very glamorous Anna Nicole Smith. Do y'all know who Anna Nicole Smith is? If you do, let me know. I grew up watching Anna Nicole Smith. She was a complete icon. She is another one that kind of came in and just like changed the game. Before she stepped on the scene, all of the models were the really, really thin models. So y'all teenagers growing up, y'all are growing up in a day and age where everybody seems to be like curvy, or not everybody, but lots of women seem to be very curvy. This is the Kim K day where it's like the big booties, you know, the little waist. But whenever I was a little girl, all of the models were super, super thin. So when Anna Nicole came into the scene, she kind of brought us back to the Marilyn Monroe days. She was very voluptuous. So she was an icon. However, she did die at the age of 39. So I'm going to be giving you guys the whole entire story today. And then I'm going to give y'all my opinion at the end, and I'll want to know yours as well. So let's just start at the beginning. Anna Nicole Smith was actually born as Vicki Lynn Hogan. She was born in Houston, Texas. Her mother was only 16 years old when she got pregnant, and her mother and her father did get married. They only stayed married for a year and a half, and they were divorced and split up by the time Vicki, she was Vicki at the time, was only 3 months old. Now, the rumor is, or it was alleged, that Vicki, or Anna's father, was actually an alleged assaulter, and that he wasn't a very good guy, and he definitely was not in her life. Now, Vicki's mom, she would go on later to become a cop in their town. So you can just imagine, she grows up with this like hardcore, tough cop mama that takes no bull, and then she later remarried, and then they had 4 other children. So Vicki grew up with 4 other siblings. She did take on her new stepfather's last name, and his name was Donald Hart, so her name then became Vicki Hart. So that makes me wonder if the bio father or whatever signed over his rights, because in order to do that, they have to, I don't know how it was back then, but you know, back in 1967 when she was born, but you have to like get permission from the father or sign over the rights. So I would assume, I do not know, that he just signed over his rights, and then the new guy, the new father, Donald Hart, adopted her, and then she got his last name. Vicki's mom said that she loved attention. She was the only child for the first 5 years, so she was used to getting her mom, all of her mom's attention, until the other 4 kids came in the picture. And then of course the attention was spread out between all the children. She said, Vicki's mom said, that she didn't take too good to that she really wanted to be the one with all the attention, all the love, and she kind of struggled with that. And some kids do. When you're used to being an only child for a bit, sometimes it is hard when other children are, you know, come into the picture. Vicki's mom said that when she was a teenager, she started sneaking out and started, you know, going boy crazy and was interested in boys and doing stuff like that, and just kind of started to rebel. And then when Vicki turned 15, she got sent to Mahia, Texas to live with her aunt. Now, the thing about living with her aunt is, now she started high school there, so she started 9th grade there, was that her daughter, so she grew up with her cousin, which was her aunt's daughter, said that her mom wasn't really a mom. So Vicki's aunt, who was raising her, wasn't really a mom. She was more like a friend. She wasn't an actual mother figure. And so she kind of got to do what she wanted to. Now, when she went to high school, I watched interviews, and you guys, I will leave links down below where Vicky, who is Anna Nicole Smith, I keep saying that. You guys get it, right? We'll get to the Anna part later, and Vicky, it's a little bit confusing to me, but nevertheless, Vicky, when she was in ninth grade at this school, she said she got bullied and she got picked on. She's really tall girl, so she's gorgeous. She was insecure about that. She said that she struggled with anorexia in high school, like she just really wanted to be thin. Struggled with her weight as far as like mentally, always thought that she was not thin enough, and she would go on the rest of her life, honestly, to have those thoughts about her body and her weight. And when she was in high school, she ended up getting expelled at some point because she was in this class and she'd gotten into an argument with this guy over like having to write sentences and talking in class and stuff. And when she saw him in the cafeteria, she said something to him about him writing his sentences for getting in trouble. And she said that he punched her. And she said he was a big old dude. And she said when he punched her, she got back up and he punched her again. She said she was in a daze and that she ended up getting expelled for that. She went back to school later and then she ended up dropping out. She said she just was so humiliated by that whole situation that she just didn't want to go back to school anymore, and so she dropped out. Now, that was her story, and that is the way that she told it. This town that she was living in Texas was super small. I think the population was only 7,000 people in the whole entire town. There was nothing to do there. There was not a bowling alley. There wasn't, anything. There was no clubs. There was nothing fun to do. So they would go to this place that they called the Drag, which they actually used to have something like this whenever I was a teenager in my town and like out in the country. And what she said was people would go out there with their cars and stuff, on the weekends and at nighttime, and they would drink beer and they would race and they would hang out the windows, woo, and play the music loud. She told this one story that her and her friends like went up to these cops, because cops would come through there sometimes, and she said, hey, come over here, pull us over, like get us out the car, pretend like you're gonna arrest us and get all the stuff out of the car. And the cops went along with it and got her and her friend out of the car and like had them on the hood of the car. And so all of the other people that were in the drag or whatever were riding by, yelling out the windows, and they just did little fun stuff like that to entertain themselves. During this time, it is said that Vicky was trying to really find herself like most teenagers do. Okay, that's completely normal, but nevertheless, she was trying to find herself and actually really kind of trying to reinvent herself. And people that were friends with her said that she would tell stories about how poor she was growing up and how she had to steal toilet paper and how she was raised on food stamps. She even started telling people that her aunt was actually her mother, her bio mother, and that she was her aunt's illegitimate child, and that her actual bio mom was really her aunt and was just raising her to take up. So she started telling all these stories, maybe trying to get attention, maybe trying to reinvent herself. Maybe she just believed it herself. I don't know, but her bio mother said that those stories were not true, that she was actually her mother, obviously, and that she did not grow up poor like that, and she did not have to steal toilet paper, and she did not have to live on food stamps. But nevertheless, these are the stories that she would tell. And when Vicky's mom asked her, why are you telling people these stories? Vicky would say, Mom, everybody needs a cool story. Like all of the famous people, they have such cool stories, and I need a good story too. And so she went on with telling people that this was her childhood and her life experience. Since she dropped out, she needed to get a job, so she started working at this fried chicken place there in Texas called Crispy's. Now, Crispy's was supposed to be the spot back then, and people could smell the chicken from a mile away. It was like all that, right? And so she was working there, and she ended up meeting this guy who was like 1 year younger than her, I think, at this point, and they ended up getting married. She was 17, and I believe he was 16 at this time. She thought she was just absolutely in love, head over heels with this guy, and then the next thing you know, she turns up pregnant, and they end up having a baby. At 18 years old, she birthed her precious little baby boy named Daniel, and then by 19 years old, she divorced her husband. I watched interviews with her where she talked about the reason why she divorced her husband. According to her, she said that he was abusive to her and to Daniel, and that he wouldn't let her go anywhere, he wouldn't let her do anything, and he was very controlling and abusive, and so therefore she took her son and she left. She went back to Houston to live with her actual biological mom. In Houston, she started looking for work, so she went to a Red Lobster to try to find a job. She went to Walmart to get a job, and she just felt like she was not making enough money there. And she saw these flashing signs. Now, y'all know in Houston, Texas period, everything's bigger and better in Texas. That's what they say, right? She saw these flashing signs, and they would have like the girls in the bikinis. And, you know, she said that she saw this one sign. It was a gentleman's club, and it had the neon sign, and it had the girl in the bikini, and the way that the sign would move, it looked like the girl was like tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. So she saw this girl in this bikini, and she was like, I want to go work there. She said that when she went in there, she had no idea that it was an actual like strip club. I could just see her now, you guys, that she goes in there. She thinks she's going to walk around in a bikini, and she goes in there, and baby, they busting it down. Okay. They busting it wide open. She was probably like, oh. She went there, she got a job starting off as a waitress, and she liked it, but she kept watching the girls on stage, and they were making a lot more money, honey, than she was making as a waitress. And so she talked to the manager about working, you know, as a dancer. So she got the job as a dancer, and within a couple nights of working there, now, let me tell you this, the very first time that she was going to dance, when they called her name to go on stage, she completely freaked out and like tried to run out the back door and just leave, because although she looked super confident, she was actually shy if she didn't know you. And when it came to her just like jumping on stage the first time and taking her clothes off, like she got so scared and freaked out and didn't think she was going to be able to do it. But she loosened up and she started doing it. She was really good at it. Now, within the first few times of her dancing, her mom, who I told y'all was a cop, right, comes up into the club, y'all, pulls the manager to the side. Now, you guys got to imagine, okay, they're in the club. Honey, it's dark in there. You know, they got the neon lights. They got the girls dancing. It's mainly men in there. There's women that go to the clubs to hang out too like that, right? Mainly men, probably a bunch of married men that don't want to be caught. Like, no shade, no tea. Y'all know what it is, okay? Single men too, but you know. And here comes the police, okay? That is not good for business, okay? These guys are in here trying to have a drink and do something on the side. They don't need you up in here, ma'am. Anyways, she goes in there, pulls the manager to the side and tells them, if you don't get my baby girl off that stage, I will be in here every night and I will make your life in this business a living. And she threatens the manager. So the manager was like, yes, ma'am, right? I'll bring her to the back door. So he goes and he gets her and he takes her to the back door. Long story short, she ended up going back and dancing. And while she was dancing, again, like she was really good at it. The men loved her. She was tall, that she had this beautiful skin, beautiful face, beautiful bone structure. She developed this like baby voice, the way she talked, like when she was like, because she realized that the guys really loved it. I do wonder if she developed that little baby voice in order to like compensate for how tall she was, and she was insecure with being so like tall. And I say big, she wasn't big, but she was tall, which can be, and then you put on 5-6 inch heels, honey. I'm 5'7". When I put on heels, I'm 6 foot tall. Okay, so she's 5'11", 6 foot tall, then in heels, and then she's got this little baby voice like, Nevertheless, y'all, the guys was eating it up, and she was making excellent money at this point. Now, Vicky at this time wanted to start modeling. Like, she didn't want to just dance. She wanted to expand her horizon. She had always, since she was a little girl, really looked up to Marilyn Monroe. And so she wanted to do everything Marilyn did. She wanted to, you know, take pictures and be in the movies and model. She wanted to do the whole shebang. She did not want to stop at dancing, but the modeling companies kept turning her down. They would tell her things like, you need to lose 25 pounds. And she was already thin, right? And they were telling her, oh, you're this, you're that. And she started thinking like, I need bigger boobs. If I get bigger boobs, then I'm going to make more money. So she saves up the money and she gets her boobs done. Now, with her breast implant journey, she had a bunch of stuff happen. Like, she had ruptures at one point. She had a lot of back pain from her boob job because of this alleged back pain from her boob job. She started taking pain pills. So she started taking medication to help her with her pain. Now, in 1991, after Vicky had been dancing for 4 years at this point, she was at the club one night and this old man gets wheeled in a wheelchair, and his name is James Howard Marshall. Now, James Howard Marshall was not just some older man. He was an 86-year-old billionaire. Okay, Billionaire. And he immediately saw Vicky and was smitten with her. She comes over to him. He's like talking to her. He's got his bodyguards or his caretakers wheeling him in, honey, and he asks her for a dance, and she gives him a dance. So Anna spends the rest of the evening chatting with him, and she said that he was super funny and that he was very, very smart, and she just enjoyed her time with him. Now, let me tell y'all a little bit about Mr. James here. So I told you guys James was 86 years old at this point, and he had been married twice, okay? Now, both times that he was married, the women that he was married to was for 30 years. And his second wife, who passed away, she had Alzheimer's and she had a bunch of issues. And so this was a committed type of guy. First wife, 30 years of marriage. Second wife, 30 years of marriage until she passed away. Now, when he was married to the second wife, when she started developing the Alzheimer's and stuff, he started dating this other stripper, and he was with her for 10 years on the side. They never were intimate or anything like that. They had a deal that since he was still married, they wouldn't be intimate, which was very beneficial, I'm sure, to the stripper that he was dating. And her name was Miss Lady Walker. And during the 10 years that they were together, James spent millions on her. Millions. I mean, he lavished her, honey, with all the fur coats and the diamonds and the trips and the Rolls Royce and the limos trips everywhere. I mean, he was a billionaire. He liked to give gifts, and he gave her a lot. However, she unfortunately passed away during plastic surgery getting a facelift. So at this point, James was super lonely. He was used to having somebody with him at all times. And so when he met Vicky, his heart just kind of stopped, and he just instantly felt like he'd fell in love with her. After just one date with him, she ends up quitting dancing, and he asked her to. He said he would take care of her. He put her on an allowance, honey. He started really taking care of her just the same way he did his other two wives and Mrs. Lady Walker. Now, James had two sons, two adult sons. One of them was in his upper 50s and 60s, and he was not happy about his father getting with Vicky. He thought she was a gold digger, but James is the one that seeked her out. Within the first week of him meeting Vicky, he proposed to her. She did say no, but he was already trying to marry her and wife her up. James started giving her anything and everything you can think of. He bought her a 15-acre ranch, honey, with a big, beautiful home. He had horses on her ranch. He gave her limo rides everywhere. She had an allowance. I don't even know how much the allowance was, but I can guarantee you it was a lot. Jewelry. I mean, took care of her son, the whole shebang. And I ain't mad at her about it neither, honey. He was giving it all to her. She felt like Pretty Woman. She had just been, basically rescued, but yet she still was not happy with just that. She wanted to pursue her dreams. And so one of her friends came to her because they saw this Playboy magazine. Do y'all remember Playboy magazines? Do they even still have them? Like, I know when I was growing up, there wasn't no internet like this. You couldn't just, look online and find anything. Like the magazines and the videotapes. That was everything, right? Y'all know. Anyways, her friend brings her a Playboy's magazine article where they were looking for new talent. And so she went to this photographer and got 4 Polaroid pictures of herself, just her standing there and doing different poses, and sent them into Playboy, and they called her and wanted her to come in and shoot. She was flipping out. She ended up in 1992 doing her first Playboy shoot where she was on the cover and everything. Her face is what really made her stand out. People were even saying that she looked like Marilyn Monroe, and from there, Vicky's life started to really change. In 1993, a man named Paul Marcenio, I think is how you say his name, Marcenio, who was an executor of Guess Jeans, saw her Playboy shoot and called her in to start working for Guess. Now, Paul Marcenio is also the person that told her that she needed to change her name to Anna Nicole Smith. So in 1993, when Anna started Guess Jeans, this is when she became Anna Nicole Smith. But when she started modeling for Guess Jeans, she became an international superstar. You guys, They were putting her billboards up everywhere, and like, you know, her and her lingerie, and, you know, she was modeling for H&M, and she was modeling for all these other different companies. And there was even talks in other countries of having to remove her from the billboards or different ads because people were literally getting in accidents, car accidents, because they're like looking at her, and they were calling it a public safety hazard. Everybody was like, she is so beautiful, so gorgeous, so different than what they were seeing for so long. She was really becoming a superstar. So she went into Hollywood. Remember how I told you that she really wanted to follow in Marilyn Monroe's footsteps and do movies and television? And she started to get little roles in different movies, and she was just living her absolute dream at this point. However, she was still in constant pain. She said she was in back pain. She supposedly had migraines, and it ran in her family, and she was on a lot of different medications. She was taking multiple different pain pills. She was taking pills for anxiety, pills for insomnia, and just trying to get through. Although Anna to the outside world looked like she had it all and she was super happy and she was famous, deep down inside, she did not feel loved. She did not feel like herself and accepted. And it is said that people that knew her and was really close to her said that it was like she was two different people. When the cameras were around, when, you know, paparazzi was around, when she was doing a photo shoot or a movie, she turned into a different person. And then whenever she was at home, she was a completely different person, which if you ever watched the Anna Nicole Smith show, you know what I'm talking about. She was a completely different person, and I loved both versions of her. In 1994, she was found unresponsive in a Beverly Hills hotel, and she had OD'd or accidentally OD'd. Now, I have conflicting things about this because I heard an interview where she said that she didn't OD, that she was just tired and all of that. My personal opinion, I think she did, but we'll get more to that later, okay? But she says she didn't, but she was found unresponsive and taken to the emergency room of the hospital. And also the other friend that was in her room with her was also hospitalized, according to all of the information out there. Now, because of that, she started having a lot of problems booking gigs because, I mean, she OD'd according to the tabloids. So it spiraled out of control and she was, you know, having problems booking jobs. At this point, she goes back home and James is continuously asking her to marry him. And so she finally says yes, and they go to get married. So in 1994, she marries James, and he is so old. And I hate saying that. I don't want to say that. Like, being old is a blessing, okay? When you get to live to be 90 years old, that is amazing, okay? So I don't say old in a negative way, but that's just what it is. I mean, compared to, you know, maybe somebody that's younger years, he was older. He could not even stand up out of his wheelchair. She tried to get him at the wedding to stand up, and he could not even stand up. So she squatted down. They did their vows. They had their kiss, and she became his wife at this point. And in 1995, James's health started declining. He got an infection of some sort and ended up in the hospital, and she would go and see him, and she would wear her little bikinis and get up in the bed with him and make him smile and stuff. But he never fully recovered from that. A part that I didn't tell y'all is allegedly 2 weeks after they were married, James's son, Pierce, had his father, who is a billionaire, sign over power of attorney to him. So now that he was in the hospital, Anna finds out that his son Pierce has basically all of the control over him. So since he has all this control over him and he has power of attorney, he stops her allowance that she was getting. He stops the paying her bills. All the stuff that he was doing for her, he completely stopped, which I have questions about, because if she had made $22 million just a year before or 2 years before, why didn't she have money? Because according to her at this point, she didn't have money to pay her bills. So there's a lot of missing links and, missing pieces to this, but we'll get more onto that when I'm talking about my opinions. Nevertheless, she said she couldn't pay her bills because of this. He also had bodyguards, armed bodyguards in the hospital with his dad that would stand in there when she would come to visit, and he would only let her visit her husband, which was his dad, for 30 minutes a day. And she cried in interviews interviews and said how sad it was because like her husband would be in the bed reaching for her, but she had to leave and he didn't really understand why, at this point, he was sick, he was in the bed, he was kind of out of it, and he was, passing away. When James did die, there was a fight over the body between Anna and her stepson, her 60-year-old stepson. And I don't mean to laugh like that, but I mean, she's in her, upper 20s and he is, 60 and she's the stepmom. He was fuming, honey. He was fuming, I'm sure. She was fuming too. Anyways, there was a fight over the body and they ended up cremating him and she got some of the ashes and his family, his sons, they got some of the ashes. And then there became a fight over his $1.6 billion estate. Yes, you heard that right. $1.6 billion. Okay. I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to court. I'm fighting over $1.6 billion. $20. Yeah, I may let that ride. $5, maybe even $100, but $1.6 billion. Oh, we lawyering up around here. So she has to go and fight his sons over the $1.6 billion because in his will, he did not have her in the will. But she was like, he was my husband. He didn't need to have me in the will. So this is going to start at this point a long, very long, years worth of court battles. Now, during this whole lawsuit situation, which was really, really hard on Anna, I mean, her life changed in an instant. She was thinking it was going one direction and it started going completely in a different direction. Also, during this time, she's dealing with her pain, her migraines, her medication that she's taking. She's a mom. She's got a lot going on and she starts to pursue acting. And this is when she meets a man named Howard K. Stern. Howard K. Stern would come into her life as a lawyer, but not leave her life ever. He will be with her for the rest of her days. Now, there was some rumors, people that were close to Anna that said that she told them that she had lupus, okay, because they said that they saw her, sweating at different times and like having the shakes and saying she was in pain. And sometimes she would just fall out and have seizures. And Howard K. Stern, who actually ended up being with her again until her very last day on this earth, said that that was not true. She did not have lupus. I do wonder if possibly those times that she was having those issues, if she was having withdrawals because of all the medication she had been taking. And we haven't gotten completely there yet. I told you guys she started taking pills long time ago. She ended up taking pills for like over 20 years. I mean, so this was something she did on a daily basis. And so it does make me wonder in hindsight, looking back, if these sweats that she would have every now and then would possibly be from withdrawal. But then again, I don't know. Maybe she did have lupus, but she told a bunch of different people different stories all the time. I almost feel like, as much as I loved Anna Nicole Smith, that she did lie a lot, and maybe because she felt like she had to. But nevertheless, at this point, she was taking methadone, Klonopin, Xanax, and a bunch of different types of medication. So, I mean, she's on some pretty hardcore and strong medication. Now, Anna was making money at this point, and her family had different things to say. Like, people that were close to Anna said that she loved Christmas and she loved seeing her family and spoiling her family and giving her family gifts. But she said that her family would just come over to get their gifts and they would leave, and they weren't really giving her that family love and environment that Anna really craved. Then there was stories from Anna's family who said that she really didn't give them very much. She would give them something every now and then, but really she was just kind of wrapped up in her own world. She was buying herself $5,000 shoes, but then not really being around the family. So the stories are conflicting, but nevertheless, like, she started growing more and more distant over the years from her actual family. And during this time with, again, growing distant, going through these court battles over her ex-husband's estate, dealing with the pain and whatever health issues she maybe actually did have, and all of the medication that she was on, she started getting really, really depressed. I mean, Anna also had this thing where she was always in some sort of physical relationship with somebody. Men, women, it didn't matter. Anybody that gave Anna a little bit of attention, she craved it and she latched onto it. And she actually ended up gaining 70 pounds, which is not a big deal, but when you are somebody famous and the tabloids are chasing you and, you know, paparazzi is chasing you, they really focused in and honed in on her weight gain, which, you know, messed her up in the head even more. By this time, Howard K. Stern, who was hired to be her attorney, was with her everywhere she went. Anytime you saw Anna, you saw Howard. I mean, he even moved in with her, which is really kind of strange, but nevertheless, he moved in with her. She had an assistant named Kimmy who lived there as well. She had a bodyguard, and she just had these people that were with her at all times, no matter where she went. Now, this is when things started just getting more out of hand for Anna. In 2000, a judge ruled that yes, she should get half of the estate. So he gave her like $486 million worth of the estate, which, hello, let's go celebrate, right? Dinner's on me, drinks on me. I'm going to the restaurant. I'm buying everybody's food in the restaurant. Like, hello, right? Like, yay, okay? But she knew that that wasn't going to be the end of it. That happened where that judge awarded her that money in California. She had to go to Texas the next year and just close it out with another judge. When she went to Texas the next year, the other judge said she didn't get a dime. So she ended up not getting anything at that point. So that's like, it's in your hands and then it's ripped away. I mean, oh my gosh. And all of this too is going on in the media. People are calling her the gold digger. The only reason why she married him was for the money. We're going to get to that more at the end. And just ripping her to shreds about this at this point, okay? And the son, the stepson, Pierce, he is not letting down. When they had her in court, they tore her. I mean, they brought up anything they could, any relationship, anything she had with anybody to just make her look like a bad person so she wouldn't get any of that money. Right around this time is when her family, remember how I said that they were growing apart? They grew completely distant. Her family would later say that this Howard K. Stern, and they said this, not me, so this is alleged for entertainment purposes only, was super possessive over her and did not want her to really talk to anybody. At this point, he wasn't just like a business manager. He was a live-in friend, a manager, a lawyer, anything, a pit bull, a bodyguard. He was doing it all and guiding her, controlling her, or whatever. And some of her family members said that when she did call them, that it would be like in the middle of the night, and you could tell that she was not wanting somebody to hear. And then their family felt like she was not allowed to talk to them. And even some friends said that too. Actually, quite a few of her friends did say that when she was with this Howard guy, as soon as she got with him, that it's like she couldn't talk to anybody else. In 2002, Anna got a light at the end of her tunnel. The television network E, approached her about doing a reality show for her life, and it was called The Anna Nicole Smith Show. Did y'all watch that? I watched it. It ended up being a complete train wreck, which we typically love for TV. I mean, come on. The very first season, though, did really good. It got in like the top 40 shows or whatever, but then the next two seasons, it only lasted 3 seasons. It took a nosedive. If you watch The Anna Nicole Smith Show, you're going to know exactly what I was talking about how she was a totally different person. I mean, on The Anna Nicole Smith Show, she was like out there. I mean, and this is also, if you guys watch interviews with her, you can tell that she is on something. Now, she would deny it in these interviews.
I did, and I said it looked like it, but Howard's saying today that that's wrong, and he thinks I'm on drugs.
I think that you're on a medication.
But I'm not.
I can't believe it, because you always appear wasted.
What is wrong? What's wrong with me?
I mean,
hello, peekaboo, right here.
No, I think
she would deny it and say that she was just really tired, but she slurred her words a lot. And to me, it was like, why didn't somebody really intervene? More on that later. Nevertheless, she did this show. It was great for the first season. It took a nosedive, and it was out by 3 seasons, and it was over with for her. In 2003, she got another big break with a company called Trim Spa. Now, she became the spokeswoman for Trim Spa, and she lost 60 to 70 pounds, and everybody was wanting to know how she did it. She looked so good. You know, diet culture is a huge thing, so she was the face of it, and it kind of got them in some trouble. I mean, Trim Spa had some legal issues, I believe, allegedly for entertainment purposes only, where people were saying that it was kind of like a scam or it didn't work, and that maybe that's not what it was just a whole mess. But nevertheless, she worked for them for a while, and she did really good. She made really good money. In 2004, Anna was at a Kentucky Derby when she met a guy named Larry Birkhead. Larry Birkhead was a photographer there. He was hired by the Kentucky Derby to take pictures. And when she saw him, she was being her normal flirty self. I mean, she kissed him in the mouth the very first time she saw him or met him or whatever. And he was completely smitten with her. And that was the thing about Anna Nicole Smith, is that it seemed like everybody that was around her fell in love with her. Literally. Everybody. I mean, there was women that had never been with women before, allegedly, according to them, that the more time they spent with Anna, they felt like they were in love with her. Like, she just had that type of personality that people could not help but to fall for. He falls head over heels in love with her immediately, and he packs up and he moves in with her too, and he starts traveling with her. Now, at this point, Larry Birkhead, who is now her live-in boyfriend, okay, and her manager, lawyer, whatever you want to call him. He was her lawyer at first, but now he's just become everything else. Howard K. Stern, they start to bump heads. Larry is telling Anna, I think Howard is in love with you. And she's like, no, 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 no. And Howard's saying no, but people later would testify or say that they really thought that he was in love with her too. They even said her assistant, Kimmy, was in love with her. So, like, again, people around her just fell in love with her. In 2004 is when Anna Nicole Smith did the American Music Awards. Did you guys see that?
And if I ever record an album, I want this guy to produce mine. Make me beautiful duets. 'Cause he's freaking genius!
Yeah, it was pretty bad. She was obviously on something. She did later say that she wasn't.
Not on drugs. I didn't have one cocktail.
For an album, I want this guy to produce mine.
Whatever, but she became the laughing stock of the awards, first of all. And then also she was on the front of all the tabloids, and it just was spiraling for her once again. But another light at the end of her tunnel, and in 2005, she found out that she was pregnant. So she tells Larry that she's pregnant, and she is so happy and so excited. She soon finds out that she's going to have a little girl, and she had always wanted a little girl. She had her son, Daniel, and then now she was pregnant with her little girl. Her mom actually did an interview and said that she had 3 hope chests full of little girl stuff for years because she just always wanted a little girl. So this was like a dream come true to her. This was her wish. She was so, so excited. However, according to Larry, somebody got into her ear, allegedly Howard, and started telling her a bunch of stuff and telling her about Larry and saying that he, was just using her for her money and her fame, and he was a nobody and she needed to get away from him. And so she started acting really distant to him, then eventually told him that he was not the father of her child. And then she took off with Howard. They disappeared. Now she's pregnant and run off with this man's child, disappeared. Well, he thinks it's his child at this point. We'll see later. One thing I do want to say though, Larry had a problem with Anna's pill taking. He said he never saw her take any kind of illegal drugs, but that she took way too much medication. And that one day when he would ask her, he would basically, confront her about it. And she would say, well, I didn't take anything yesterday, so I need to take twice today. And he was very concerned. So my theory on that is that Howard used that to get into, she didn't want to give up her pill habit. At this point, she had been taking medication like this for decades. Not close to 2 decades at this point. She wasn't going to just give it up like that. And I think that may have been what made her run from him. I don't know. That's just a theory. I don't know. She did tell people that she quit taking all of her medication while she was pregnant. Again, I don't know. Nevertheless, her and Howard take off with her assistant and her bodyguard, and they go to the Bahamas, and she gets a place there, and she starts living in the Bahamas while she's pregnant. Now, at this point, her son, Daniel, who is now an adult, is living in LA with one of her friends because he even says he cannot stand Howard. He didn't want to be around Howard. He said that Howard, made her a different person, and that, he felt like Howard was just too overbearing. He didn't want to be around his own mother because of Howard. So not long after that, in September of 2005, on the 7th, she goes into labor and Danny Lynn is born. So she has Daniel and now Danny Lynn. Like, how sweet is that? And she has a beautiful baby girl. She has a C-section and she's so happy. And Howard just happens to be there and he videotapes the whole entire thing, which you would think is an amazingly sweet gesture. But the thing is that videotape got sold to E for an undisclosed amount of money before she was even out of the hospital. So maybe she wanted him to do that. Maybe she wanted the money. I have no idea, but it is a little bit odd. 2 days after her precious little baby girl is born, her son Daniel flies into the Bahamas to meet his baby sister and be with his mother. So now she's super happy. She's got her son there. She's got her precious little baby girl who is just as healthy and as punkin as can be. And she's in the hospital recovering from her C-section. That night, which was on September 9th, she's in the room with her baby and her son, and Howard is sitting in a chair on the other side of the room. Her son has a chair pulled up next to her. Howard does take quite a few pictures of her and her son and her daughter together, and her son is tending to her, and her son gets in the chair, and he kind of falls asleep. A nurse would later testify that she came in around 6:30 in the morning and she saw her son, Daniel, tending to her and the baby again, and then she left. At 9:30 a.m., Anna wakes up. She reaches over to wake her son, Daniel, up because he looked like he was slumped over and he won't wake up. She starts to try to wake him up some more. She said he was cold to the touch. The nurses and the doctors rush in and he was dead. Was sitting there next to her in the hospital bed while she just delivered her daughter, and her 20-year-old son is dead. I cannot even imagine the trauma, the devastation. Later, it will come to find out that he OD'd. They're calling it an accidental overdose. And he had Zoloft in his system and another medication, but he had methadone in his system. Now, Daniel did not have a prescription for methadone. Anna did. Anna had a prescription for methadone. So it is still unknown, and Anna's never spoke about it, whether Daniel just took the medication without her knowing or if they had that type of relationship where she gave her son medication. Either way it goes, he passed away that day in the hospital room. There was so many speculations going around. And part of that, too, is you remember those pictures that I told you that Howard took of her with her daughter and her son while he was still alive? Those pictures got sold to magazines for allegedly $400,000. So I don't know if Anna was in on that, too, or if he did it behind her back or what, but he sold the pictures. Somebody sold those pictures to the magazines for $400,000, literally days after he passed away. It was so hard on Anna. She had to be sedated to even be taken home. I mean, she was losing her mind. And then it was also said by one of her bodyguards that at his funeral, she just asked, hey, can I just see him? Can I just see his body? And they opened the casket and she flipped out. She started trying to jump on the casket. Wake up, wake up, wake up, get up out of here. To the point that they thought the straps was going to break and the casket was going to fall down into the hole. They had to take her and sedate her again to calm her down enough to just get her off of her son's dead body. I mean, it was so traumatizing and so terrible. Things from there just kept getting weirder and weirder, to be honest. Everybody was asking who the father of this baby was. I mean, people were speculating that it was Howard or who was it, because Anna never, ever, ever said who the father of the baby was. She never said it was Larry. Well, publicly, she told Larry it was his, but publicly she never said. So the speculation continued to grow, and Larry's trying to reach out to her because she had told him that this was his kid and he wanted to see the baby. Now, remember, Larry doesn't do drugs. He don't take medication, stuff like that. So he's completely clear spearheaded in this situation. And before you know it, Howard does a CNN interview and tells the world that him and Anna have been in a relationship for years secretly and that he is the father of the baby. So can you imagine the drama, the tea that people like, oh my gosh. And then the guy, Larry, who is thinking he is the father this whole time and believing that he is the father. And now Larry is on there saying that he is the father of the baby. Ugh, a mess. So at this point, Anna is living in the Bahamas and she flies one of her friends down there to stay with them who just happens to be a psychiatrist, okay, who writes her prescriptions. So she has an actual doctor that writes her prescriptions, and then she has a psychiatrist friend that writes her prescriptions, and she's getting medication from all over the place. Now, I mean, I can only imagine the mental state she is in after everything she's been through, okay? She has been through it, okay? I can't imagine. But she's taking a lot of medicine. And then 1 month after her son passes away, she's laying in the pool of her home and her bodyguard hears a splash. And he thinks she just jumps off the raft and splashes. And then Howard starts yelling. They had to jump in. They got her out of the pool. They had to resuscitate her. I guess, I mean, nobody said this. This is what I'm assuming from the story, that she was so doped up, messed up, laying on a raft, falls off the raft and almost drowns, and they have to save her. And her baby girl is just 1 month old. And she's got her psychiatrist friend there. And this is when I'm telling you, when you got a lot of money, you got yes men all around you, okay? But we're going to get to more on that on the end. I'm going to get through this story here because I just cannot believe these people. So she's taking all these medications. She's got her friend there that's a psychiatrist that's writing her more scripts, the whole shebang. And she decides that she wants to buy a boat, a big yacht for whatever reason. The boat that she finds that she wants to buy is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they're in the Bahamas. And I don't know if you guys know, but you know, between like Miami or the Florida Keys, you can literally drive a boat to the Bahamas within like a few hours or so many hours or whatever. So she's going to go, so she goes to Fort Lauderdale. She brings her psychiatrist with her. She brings her bodyguard with her. She brings Howard with her, and she leaves her baby with some friends down there in the Bahamas. And she brings some more friends with her as well because they're going to help her drive the boat back to the Bahamas. But before she gets ready to leave, she gets a shot in her left butt cheek, which is an HGH shot, which is a human growth hormone. Okay, now this is supposed to be allegedly, from what I'm reading, weight loss and to stimulate cells and all of that, which human growth hormone seems like you would grow instead of lose weight, but allegedly she was taking it for weight loss. I don't know. And then she also got a B12 shot. So in combination with each other, when she gets on the plane to go to Fort Lauderdale, she starts complaining that she's having pain in her left butt cheek. She's starting to sweat and shake a lot, which was not uncommon for her, according to the people that were around her, to the shaking and the sweating. And she gets to Fort Lauderdale. That night, her fever spikes to 105 degrees, which is, you need to go to the hospital, sis. Her friends are there. They see her temperature. She tells them she does not want to go to the hospital, so they put her in an ice bath and they get her fever down to 97 degrees. And this is, again, where when you have yes men around you, 105 degrees, it does not matter if she wants to go to the hospital or not. Somebody should have took her. Somebody should have called 911. You put her in an ice bath. Yeah, you're lowering her temperature, but whatever the problem is that caused her temperature to spike to 105 degrees is still there. Anyway, so they put her in the bed. It is said that the scene around her while she's laying in this bed, super sick, she can barely move. She's like, you know, having all, like, she's very weak and sick and has this fever, and she's taking flu medication and she's taking her regular medications, and all around her is like diet cans and, you know, Slim Fast cans and empty gum wrappers and just different stuff like trashy stuff laying all around her. So the next day she gets up, and people that were there said that she did not urinate. Like, she did not go to the bathroom at all, and she had a fever again of 100 degrees. They're saying that they asked her to go to the hospital again, and she refused because she didn't want the tabloids in her business. She was tired of people making up rumors about her, according to her, that she said that they were rumors, and she just did not want to do that. She wanted to get better at the hotel room, is what they said she said. There was even a point where somebody said that she was in the bathtub in a dry bath, naked, confused at what she was doing. And they got her back into her bed and they got her to eat a little something. So they thought she was doing okay. But by the next morning, things took a nosedive again. A woman walked in, which I believe it was the bodyguard's wife, walked in at 1 p.m. and saw her slumped over with her mouth open and like not breathing. And so they got her, and everybody that was there, they tried to resuscitate her. According to them, I don't know, allegedly for entertainment purposes only, they tried to resuscitate her for 15 minutes. They couldn't get it, and then they called 911. 911 is called. She's rushed in an ambulance to the hospital, and within 6 minutes of her making it to the hospital, she is pronounced dead. Later toxicology reports would confirm or say that she died from an overdose. And it was a lethal combination of medications. Now, I've seen different videos. Some documentary videos said that she was within therapeutic ranges. Other documentaries and stuff said that she was not within therapeutic ranges, which I don't know how you would be in therapeutic ranges and then OD, but nevertheless, she passed away, and they're calling it an overdose, an accidental overdose. Now, 8 of the 11 medications that was found in her system, oh, you heard me right, 11 different medications found in her system, 8 of them were prescribed to Howard and not Anna. More on that later. Howard, her other doctor, and the one that was there on vacation with her, hanging out, the psychiatrist, were all arrested. Howard was arrested, I believe, on like 8 felony charges, something like that. And then the other 2 doctors were arrested on 6 charges. And conspiracy to prescribe was the charges. I do think later on that they ended up beating the charges and getting out of it. But a pharmacist did come and testify at Howard's trial and said that when he was filling prescriptions for her, that he literally called the doctor and said, hey, this is pharmaceutical homicide. She should not be taking all of these medications. And the doctor basically said, yeah, okay, I'll talk to her, I'll fix it or whatever. But he said that he actually reached out to the doctor about it. And that, again, is a problem when you have a lot of money and you have yes men around you. More on that later. So what ended up happening to the baby girl, right, that was supposed to be raised by Howard? Larry had to fight. And I'm talking about it was a fight because she was born in the Bahamas at this point, okay? He had to go down to the Bahamas, do a whole bunch of stuff to get a paternity test, take Howard to paternity court because now Howard is on the birth certificate. It was a whole mess. He was found to be the father. He did get custody of Danny Lynn, and everything was all well and good. Danny Lynn was raised by her father and is very much loved and very happy. I saw different interviews and stuff, and I will leave some linked down below. She looks so much like her mom did, like literally exactly like her mom. It is wild. I would love to know when she's older how she really felt as a little girl, kind of living in her mom's shadow, if she did, and looking like her, and wondering if she had any of those same feelings. But if she never comes out and speaks on it, I don't blame her. Good for her. Like, stay out of the spotlight, girlfriend, and just like live your best life. Now let's get into some of my final thoughts. The first thing is the double standard that I want to talk about with Anna Nicole Smith and marrying this, billionaire guy. She got ripped to shreds about that. Listen, she's young. She's in her 20s, honey. A billionaire wants to marry her. He don't want to do nothing, whatever, because he's 86 years old and he can't even stand up out of a wheelchair. Honey, I'm just saying, he is a smart man. He knew what he was doing, okay? He earned all that money. If he wants to spend it on her or spend some on her, let her do it. But she was ripped to shreds, all while Hugh Hefner, you guys know who Hugh Hefner is literally like the king to men because he has all these women and he's an old. So when you have a woman that does it, it's terrible. She's all these terrible things, but when a man does it, he's literally walking around in a suede robe and like worshipped. So that is super annoying. But anyways, I want to talk about the yes men situation. Now, the reason why I kept pointing that out is if you guys watched my Britney video, which a lot of you guys were really upset with me about. And I get it. We don't have to have the same exact opinions on things. And I hope I'm wrong about everything. I really do. And if I am, I will tell you guys, I'm not the end all be all. I don't know everything about anything. I'm just giving y'all guys my opinion, and I'm nobody. Okay. Y'all asked for my opinion. I gave it to you, whatever. What if Anna had real people around her that cared about her? And I'm not saying these people didn't care about her, but like cared about her more than they cared about maybe their agenda. Prime example, when she had a fever of 105 degrees, I don't care what she's saying, call 911 and save her life. But nobody did. You know what I'm saying? That is a problem when you have yes men around you and stuff like that. Or if you watch tons of interviews of Anna, you can tell that she is more than just tired. And I loved Anna to death, and I still do, you know, but you can tell she's more than just tired. But you've got people around her feeding her medication, continuously feeding her. Same thing with Michael Jackson. When you've got money like that, you can literally just do whatever. And I know that there's people that's going to say, well, you're an adult. You should basically be able to do whatever you want. And I agree with that. I do. But as a mother looking at things, my children, oh, they're screwed, baby. They just are, because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care how much money they get or how successful they are. I'm going to protect them until the day that I die. I don't care if they're 45 or 50 years old. You know, it would be over my dead body if I just let them destroy themselves. You know what I'm saying? Without a fight. I just couldn't do it. So it's so heartbreaking to see. But then again, sometimes when I look at Anna, I realize she was far gone. She was far gone out there. And I don't say that in an ugly way, because I've been far gone too. Y'all know that. And the last part is the judge situation. That court situation continued all the way until 2017, 10 years after her death, because of Danny Lynn, because they were trying to get the money for Danny Lynn. And finally, the judge was like, I'm tired of seeing this. Like, y'all are fighting over this money. And so she never, ever got any of that estate, as far as I know. If something has changed since then, let me know down below. What do you guys think? Have you heard this story? Do you know who Anna Nicole Smith is? Do you think things could have been differently? Do you think it's odd that she just really like looked up to Marilyn Monroe and then ended up passing away the same exact way as she did? What do y'all think? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, my loves, please do not forget to like this video. It's a free way that you can help your girl out. And until next time, I love you guys so very much. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye. Love you guys. Bye.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust.